The film opens up in a world that has been devastated by an apocalyptic event. We are introduced to Juliet, a woman of remarkable resilience. She traverses the barren, desolate landscape, constantly on the lookout for resources that would ensure her survival in this harsh environment. Armed with a firearm, she remains on high alert, ready to defend herself against any potential threats that might emerge from the ruins of civilization. One fateful day, Juliet decides to halt her journey for a brief moment at a deserted gas station, harboring hopes of discovering some much-needed sustenance. However, her plans are abruptly disrupted when she hears a menacing growl resonating from the upper floor of the dilapidated station. Sensing imminent danger, she swiftly retreats to the relative safety of her vehicle. Within the confines of her car, Juliet initiates communication with her friend Harry, who is anxiously awaiting news about the food she managed to scavenge for their group of 39 survivors. Regrettably, Juliet informs Harry that her search at the gas station proved fruitless. Concerned about her rapidly depleting battery, she terminates the conversation prematurely, promising to take a shortcut back to their base. During her solitary journey home, Juliet stumbles upon an abandoned RV and discovers a severely injured man lying on the ground. With her gun drawn, she demands information about the creature that had been menacing her earlier. The man reveals that he has successfully trapped the creature within the confines of the RV. Furthermore, he informs Juliet of a stash of canned goods within the vehicle. As Juliet contemplates entering the RV, the man pleads for her to end his suffering, fearing the monster's wrath. Aware of the time ticking away, Juliet decides to confront the creature. A fierce battle ensues, marked by shattered windows and the trembling of the RV. Ultimately, Juliet emerges victorious, having vanquished the creature. Exhausted but resolute, she steps out of the RV to find the man lifeless on the ground. As she resumes her quiet drive, her attention is momentarily diverted by a picture of herself with a man. Unfortunately, the wind snatches the photo away, causing her to lose control of the vehicle. The car flips over multiple times and Juliet loses consciousness. In the meantime, the scene shifts to a bustling city where Juliet is seen standing in an art gallery years before the world fell into chaos. Jack, the owner of the gallery, approaches her with flirtatious intent, but she is uninterested in his advances. She reveals that she sought shelter from the rain outside. At first, she resisted him, but after she recognizes his humble approach, she accepts his encouragement to appreciate the beauty of the artwork surrounding her. He explained the deep senses in the paintings, and all she gotta do was open her eyes. Meanwhile, in the present, Juliet opens her eyes from her unconsciousness. After Juliet regains consciousness, her leg throbs with the pain of an open fracture. She realizes that her gun has been displaced, lying a few feet away from the vehicle. Attempting to call for help using her radio proves futile, and with the Reapers becoming more active at night, Juliet must act swiftly to retrieve her firearm. Using a makeshift pole, Juliet reaches out for her pistol, coming close to grasping it before the rods separate, foiling her attempts. Another flashback transports us to Juliet, leaving the gallery together with Jack. They stroll down the street and Juliet falls victim to Jack's playful joke about her food containing meat. Being a vegetarian, she promptly spits out the bite, but doesn't hold any resentment upon realizing it was all in good fun. Jack proposes that Juliet accompany him to his apartment, and she is captivated by its beauty upon arrival. The two share drinks and cheese, engaging in conversation. Juliet finds it challenging to open up to Jack, initially refusing to disclose her name when he inquires. However, after some persuasion, she relents and reveals her name before departing, paving the way for Jack to reciprocate and tell her his name. Back in the present, Juliet tries and manages to sit up and take a close look at her wound. She had some alcohol in the car, so put some onto the wound. She is not in a good place for now, but the scene shifts to her memories. The next time when Juliet and Jack meet is by coincidence. They both were accompanied by another partner when their eyes met. Juliet and her man leave the bar, but Jack can't take his eyes off. Consumed by curiosity, he discreetly follows them outside, witnessing a transaction where the man pays Juliet for a substance. Jack observes as Juliet rejects the man's attempt to kiss her. Intrigued, he continues to follow her and learns that she is involved in the drug trade. He doesn't stop there as he continues to follow her home. She headed for the subway and arrived at a ghetto area where she left. She greets some thugs on her door, but before she enters her apartment, Jack appears before her. Having no choice, she welcomes him, and from that moment on, Jack discovers the dire circumstances she faces as a woman. When he attempts to offer her help or some kind of assistance to get her life back on track, she is firmly resistant and impenetrable. She says she isn't as simple, and when he insists on doing so, he encounters resistance and is firmly instructed to leave. Jack's remorse for intruding on Juliet's privacy intensifies when he witnesses her injecting herself with drugs. Jack is disappointed to see the needle on her, but he cannot do anything as she screams to get out and leave her. In the present, Juliet finally manages to free her leg from being trapped by the steering wheel. With her wound bandaged, Juliet repairs her radio and attempts to contact Harry, informing him of her injury and her need for help. Frustratingly, she receives no response, but her attention is diverted by the approaching sound of a Reaper. Determined to retrieve her gun, Juliet crawls out of the car, remaining silent and vigilant as she watches the creature, ready to defend herself if necessary. However, her hopes for a quiet encounter are shattered when Harry's call interrupts the silence. The response she has been waiting for has come, and Harry on the radio keeps telling her to do some things if she wants to be discovered. But now the Reaper is here, she cannot make any sound, and to our surprise, to distract the Reaper, Juliet throws her radio outside, hoping it will be drawn to the noise and leave her. She fears the Reaper will discover her, and she will die any minute now, but to her luck, suddenly the Reaper hears some noises from the distance and departs towards it, leaving Juliet relieved. Now that it's gone, Juliet has time to collect herself. She replenishes her ammunition with fresh bullets. In a flashback, while Jack was in his house doing some sketches, Juliet appears in Jack's apartment unannounced, but this time she is very injured and covered with blood. She is not in a good place and seeks refuge in his arms. Without questioning her injuries, Jack tends to her wounds, providing comfort and a place to rest. The following morning, Juliet expresses her gratitude to Jack and joins him for breakfast. Jack opens up about his past, sharing his struggles after the death of his parents and how he managed to adapt, offering Juliet hope that she can do the same. Uncertain, Juliet requests permission to take a walk for some fresh air, but Jack sees through her facade, knowing she is seeking a fix. Offended, Juliet attempts to leave but finds herself trapped in the elevator. Despite her demands, Jack insists that she stay with him until she is clean. Overwhelmed by anger, Juliet unleashes her frustration, breaking Jack's belongings. Unfazed, Jack embraces her tightly, calming her until she finally relents, and from there, they share a kiss. In the present timeline, Juliet finds herself in the throes of a post-apocalyptic world. To navigate through the darkness and detect the presence of any lurking Reapers, she throws out several glow sticks. The first Reaper she ever encountered is still fresh in her memory. At the moment, her surroundings seem devoid of any immediate threats, so she cautiously moves towards the radio she has spotted. She remains vigilant, her senses heightened to every sound and movement around her. Suddenly, a noise from behind startles her, causing her heart to pound in her chest. In response, Juliet hurls more glow sticks in various directions, illuminating her surroundings until she spots the menacing figure of a Reaper perched atop her car. With swift precision, she dispatches the creature with a well-aimed shot and retreats back to the safety of her vehicle, silently bracing herself for the next encounter. However, the Reaper makes an unexpected reappearance, tearing off the window cover and reaching for Juliet's foot with its gnarled hand. Struggling to break free from its grasp, Juliet starts the car and accelerates, the spinning wheels inflicting pain on the monster. Once again, she finds herself waiting for the Reaper, her fingers tightly gripping her weapon as she fires a few shots at the approaching creature. Unbeknownst to her, it has already managed to infiltrate the vehicle from behind. Startled by its sudden appearance, Juliet fires at the Reaper, forcing it to retreat. She then attempts to steady her trembling hands and focus on repairing her radio. Seeking a moment of solace amidst the chaos, Juliet reaches for her flask, only to find it empty. In a flashback, we see Jack and Juliet moving into their new home. Juliet is a whirlwind of emotions, feeling both delight and nervousness about the significant changes in their lives. Jack tenderly touches her face, coaxing a smile from her. He proudly shows her the room they have lovingly prepared for their future child. However, Juliet expresses doubts about her ability to be a good mother and bring happiness to their child. Jack reassures her, emphasizing that their commitment to making things work is the most important aspect. Before they continue exploring the rest of the house, Jack asks Juliet to express her love for him. Even though she doesn't say it directly, he can feel the depth of her feelings. Later on, Juliet reluctantly reveals to Jack that she is pregnant. The news brings him immense joy. However, their happiness is tragically short-lived as Juliet gives birth to a stillborn baby. The couple is left to face the heartache of returning home to an empty nursery, a painful reminder of their loss, and back in Juliet's bleak reality, she manages to repair her radio and contacts Harry. However, due to the poor signal, their conversation is fraught with misunderstandings. Juliet overhears Harry mentioning a locator beacon. Determined, she retrieves the beacon and diligently follows the instructions in its manual. Finally, the beacon activates, prompting Juliet to fortify the windows. To her dismay, she realizes that a Reaper is waiting outside. The creature relentlessly attempts to breach the vehicle as Juliet presses her foot against the window cover, causing it pain. Eventually, the Reaper retreats. Juliet secures the cover with a rod and prepares herself for the creature's next assault, firing shots as it repeatedly attacks her vehicle from different angles. Suddenly, Juliet gets a call from Harry. She informs him that she's being attacked by a Reaper, so he instructs her to use her flashlight on it. Juliet is left to fend off the relentless attacks of the Reaper as she waits for her impending rescue. Now exposed, she quickly turns on her headlights, illuminating the darkness around her and successfully driving the monstrous Reaper away. Once the immediate threat is gone, she picks up her radio and dials Harry's number. She inquires about their estimated time of arrival, but Harry, with a tone of regret in his voice, informs her that they won't be able to rescue her until sunrise. In a flashback, we see a different side of Juliet's life. Jack, her partner, is seen scolding her for her tendency to run away from problems. His worry for her was palpable every time she disappeared without a trace. She challenged Jack to admit that he blamed her for the loss of their baby, but Jack vehemently denied this. Juliet also accused Jack of pressuring her into having a child, even though she wasn't ready. Jack decided to leave the car and take the subway instead. Before leaving, he finally admitted to Juliet that her past addiction was the reason why their baby didn't survive. He also ended their relationship before walking away. As Juliet watched him leave, tears streamed down her face. She yelled after him, declaring that she didn't need him in her life. Hours later, Juliet found herself in a bar, drowning her sorrows in alcohol. The news on the television reported an attack at the subway station, resulting in the death of more than 30 people. She answered a call that she had been ignoring, only to be horrified upon finding out that Jack was among those who got hurt. She quickly left the bar, her mind filled with worry for Jack. Back in the present, Juliet hears a vehicle pass by. She honks the horn in hopes of getting its attention. A bike then stops, and the man who approaches her promises he'll help her. Unfortunately, the man turns out to be a cannibal who is determined to kill Juliet. As he attempts to stab her, the Reaper shows up and attacks the cannibal. After watching the Reaper feast on the cannibal, Juliet checks the number of bullets she has left. She slowly places the gun under her chin, contemplating ending her own life. However, she suddenly remembers how Jack looked at the hospital on the night of the subway attack. His larynx and trachea were burned because of the gas used in the attack, leaving him unable to speak. Jack could only touch the thick plastic separating them. Using a whiteboard and a marker, a weak Jack told Juliet he loved her and asked her never to give up. This memory prompts Juliet to put the gun down. Determined to survive, Juliet takes a flare and 2 fuel containers out of the vehicle, dousing one with gasoline. She then lights the flare and waves it around to lure the Reaper out. When it does, she leads it to the container she's prepared a while ago. When the creature stands on the fuel-soaked ground, Juliet shoots the can to kill it with the explosion, but the creature survives and escapes. Once again in danger, Juliet keeps her guard up and looks for the Reaper. The Reaper then grabs Juliet and causes her to drop her gun, so she quickly crawls back inside the car. However, the creature grabs her leg and tries to pull her out, making her wound bleed a lot. Juliet then continues fighting back, but the Reaper pulls her out of the vehicle and throws her to the ground. With the creature approaching her, Juliet uses the gun she's managed to pick up and shoots the Reaper twice, crying once she realizes her problem is over. As Juliet looks to the stars, the bitter memory of Jack's passing away suddenly fills her mind. When the sun finally rises, the creature suddenly moves and crawls towards Juliet, but she fails to shoot it since she has no bullets left. Juliet hurriedly reloads her gun, scared that she might die any minute. Now that the Reaper is on top of her, Juliet can only stay still as it gently touches her face, making her realize it's Jack. Juliet then remembers the day she met Jack, where the man told her he believed in fate and that the universe had a way of bringing people together. Being a skeptical person, Juliet asked Jack what he'd do if she left him at that moment, so as a grand romantic gesture, Jack closed the gallery and decided to walk home with her. The film comes to close as we are taken aback to the present once again. Juliet cries as she finally tells Jack she loves him. Juliet then embraces Jack while leaning her head against his, and now that she's finally found her way back to him, she decides that together they should go to the afterlife.